The weapon we're going to be taking a look at today is the Karyst Prime, and this is what it feels like to use. Now you may be wondering, what's going on over here, Marshmallow? You're not making any sense. Well, to be honest, I don't have any idea what's going on either, but that looks like it's going to hurt a lot. Before we get into the nitty and the gritty, I just wanted to share something from the future shitpost work in progress. No, this is not just something conjured out of Photoshop. It's meant to be a scene in a video. Just let me know what you guys think. You think it looks like crap or whatever, just put it in the comments. And timestamps are in the video description. The Karyst Prime is one of those weapons that you know is gonna get hyped just from the stats on paper alone. Second highest base damage of all melee weapons, juicy percentages on both the crit and status chances, 2.2x crit multiplier, nicely balanced IPS with slash bias, and to top it all off, innate toxin and 10% movement speed bonus so you can run around like a happy little murderous Tenno. But stats on paper don't necessarily translate perfectly into real gameplay scenarios, cause this is a dagger, and from what I've seen and heard throughout my time in Warframe, not a whole lot of fans for the dagger type melee. Maybe when covert lethality used to be a thing. These days, I'd imagine there are a lot more players sporting stuff like Zaws or the Redeemer Prime. But anyways, I won't be discussing the performance of the Karyst Prime in terms of raw numbers with the fancy charts like in previous videos. I just feel like comparing weapons in that format doesn't really translate too well into actual gameplay. Sure, it may be more quote-unquote scientific to say this shtick kills the level 100 Nox in 4.2 seconds, which is faster than the other shtick by 6.9 milliseconds or something like that. I don't think it highlights whether a weapon is fun to use, so we're just gonna switch gears a little bit here and talk about the more subjective aspects in this video. Also, Marshmallow is just really lazy right now. Sorry, boys and girls. The first thing you're gonna notice when you're wielding the Karyst Prime is that uninspiring attack speed. 0.667 is on the lower side of the spectrum, which kinda doesn't make sense, because this is a dagger. For comparison, the Rock to Dark dagger has a speed of 1.0. I mean, it doesn't look particularly heavy. The blade is pretty wide though. Can't get that damn song out of my mind. But this can be mostly remedied with a Primed Fury or Berserker. It's also a good idea to pair Berserker with a crit mod like Sacrificial Steel instead of one that scales with combo like Blood Rush. But if you're going into a mission with the intention of using melee primarily, then Blood Rush is probably the better pick. Unless, of course, you're going the heavy route. Builds are just so convoluted in Warframe these days. Also, I do prefer the Homing Fang stance, which is unfortunately a Naramon mod, where the Karyst Prime has the Magi Polarity on its stance slot. It doesn't really matter to me a whole lot since I don't main daggers, but it could be a deal breaker for you. In which case, just pop a stance forma in and you're good to go, right? Just kidding, use regular forma. For those of you more experienced lot, the Karyst Prime IMO is a great companion for high level missions. I even took it along for a solo run of Mott on hard mode, lasted about 20 minutes. I didn't have any problems with survivability whatsoever, it's just that life support ran out, which is annoying. I could chalk that down to the Karyst Prime's inefficiency in terms of room clearing ability. I mean, with a range of 2.2 meters and a somewhat awkward feeling stance, this thing was never going to be as good as polearms for clearing out chunks of enemies. With that said though, it's not like you can't go up against small groups of level 100 Grineers. Throughout the entire 20-minute Mott run, the Karyst Prime never really felt inadequate to me in terms of killing power. And I wasn't even using a chroma, so I'd imagine this thing would still be reliable against level 180, maybe even level 200 enemies with a bit of DPS boost. Alas, the clusterfuck of Orokin drones and Ancients meant that my killing ability was significantly reduced to the point where life support ran out. But if you're looking to go long in Mott, you should be in a squad anyways. I don't have a baseline or anything else to compare to, but in my honest opinion, the Karyst Prime performed well enough during that hard mode Mott run, against what were like level 140 and above enemies, I believe, that it receives my seal of approval. For anyone who loves close combat melee and their daggers, the Karyst Prime is pretty much a must. If you're someone who only taps quick melee, or a polearm / staff fanatic, this may not be a weapon worth spending your time farming for, especially if you don't like the stances. And that's my short take on the Karyst Prime. Remember to leave comments, and if you're in some parts of the world that's still stuck in quarantine or movement control, consider joining the Discord server, available to all Patreon subscribers, links in the description. That's all for now, catch you guys real soon in the next video.